Well, that was an outstanding talk. I think the thing that heard that I thought was a real thread for the day is Gloria talking about the idea. She didn't put it in these terms, but she was engineering an expectation. And what I hear Edward saying is he engineers an expectation. And I'm big on trying to engineer an expectation myself. So I really, really loved hearing that from other people.
And I will say, one of my great things one of the things I put on my tag, you expect greatness for that. And I think it's but that's what I'm saying. If you expect greatness, more than likely people are going to exceed that ultimately. So they have to expect greatness from themselves. They can understand and watch how everyone, including yourself, exceeds it.
All the time. Well, well, I'm going to go ahead and start. I've lost a part of what I wanted to say to you all, but some of this I've already talked to you about anyway. I want to tell you all how happy I am that you came out today. I know this is some of you have incredibly small budgets, and I'm so glad that you that not this, but I'll be all right. I'm so glad that this was important enough to you that you could make it part of your day. And fund this. That's something that I'm really going to be talking about more today is funding issues, because that is, it's an issue for us, it's an issue for you all, and it's really the kind of the hot issue on all of our plates right now, because we all operate mostly very small, lean budgets. So I've talked a little bit already. I wanted to introduce you to my staff, and we did do a little bit of that. And I'm going to be talking to you about the state of plan and where we actually are. And I talked to you a little bit generally to transition you into what our year has been like. And now I'm going to talk to you more specifically about that. So if you can go forward. We're trying to begin a new organization. There have been various iterations of CTLS over the years. It is an old organization that grew out of TSLAC, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that. But this is a nonprofit that was grown from TSLAC funding back in the day in the 60s and 70s. Is that right? Up until 2000, it was funded, and then it became, yes, all right. So it transitioned, and it is supported by membership, and it is supported by grant and whatever fundraising revenue we're able to source. And so what we're trying to do is move away from some of the programs that because we're a nonprofit, and our nonprofit status is very generically identified in terms of building an infrastructure. So it leaves us a lot of room within that nonprofit status to be able to reinvent ourselves according to the status, according to public needs assessment and the environment at the time. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our present picture of finances. Okay. Is our revenues, and our direct contributions were very small this year, and our donated goods and services were a bit on the small side. We do get a relative generous amount of funding from our foundation and trust grants, and then 35% of our grant, our source funded, comes from grant revenue. We have just a little bit of other earned income. Our membership revenue is 23.2 this year. So what has happened is it has gone down a little bit, and part of the reason that is because for 2 years we were in our COVID status, and it affected our ability to be able to go out and do things that we needed to be able to do. And some of that time Eric spent trying to transition us into these grant sources. So that was time well spent in the way that it was, because it's been a great future investment for us. And but we are in a place now where we need to pick that membership back up, because the reality is we have all of these fantastic trainings out there, and we're getting a lot of support for those trainings. But because our membership is down, we're not getting as many trainings to people as we could be getting to people. So we really want to let people know where we are as an organization and how much you're going to earn your value out of supporting us going into the future, and the direction that we're going, in order that you can recoup some of that value. And we're concentrating on methods on how you can recoup that value. We're all under that same pressure of, the term, producing more for less. And that's what we're trying to do for you. So these were our expenses this last year. So we're down significantly opposite. And I'm trying to very deliberately to try to simplify this for you so that you all can really understand. Because I didn't want to bring an annual report to you that you don't understand. And I'm trying to really get there so that you can understand it. So next slide. Our net revenue was negative 18,457. Our total equity was 54,874. So we are really looking to have more funding support. We're looking into, we always have, we have a grant writer that we work with who looks at sourcing grants for us. Those are good potential sources of income for us. Our grants one of those grants does renew, so that's a good potential source of income for us. But we are reliant on your membership, and I do realize the situation you all are in, because I've had people asking me, and I'm so thankful for those very transparent questions that we're getting. Louanne, how do we support you? What do I tell my board? What do I tell my city manager? And so I'm going to answer that today. Like I said, we are a larger organization. We're not trying to be anything that we're not. We are not trying to be TLA. We are not trying to be TSLAC. We are trying to educate and train and help support people for managing grossly underfunded libraries. We also are trying to marry them to the idea like Edward is saying, that we all have so much in common that really goes unnoticed. Edward has, he has the burden of a lot of fiscal funding for a lot of very diverse and intense needs, and he is a hub for the region. So he has to be very precise in how he exacts those dollars and where those dollars go. And so there are some similarities that go unnoticed between these small public libraries and his big libraries. And we are trying to take advantage of the fact that when we get to this level, we all have some identifying criteria that are very similar that do not get noticed. We have people who are in branches that are trying to serve at task at hand, and people who also need innovation. They need advocacy skills. They need on-site political acumen with the environment that we're in. So those are the first people that are right there on to get verbal attacks. So, all right, I've talked to you a little bit about who we are and what we do. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about that. Things that I mentioned to you all earlier. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to have to see this. We do consulting, and one of the things, this is becoming a significant revenue source for us. This almost funded half of a staff position last year. So we do collection assessment, we do strategic planning, community assessment, we do comprehensive planning, customer service training, survey assessment and planning, board training, best practices training, and operational planning. So right now, that is the subset of what we're able to do. Now, what our caveat is, we do this at a reduced rate than you would find at a private firm. But the caveat is, because we're such a small staff, you're going to have to wait on our timeline a little bit for us to get to you. But we think that's a fair trade-off given this situation. All right. One of the things that y'all are going to be incredibly happy about is the fact that we're transitioning away from our old open source software that was on our website. And so we will be having all new customer association software, and it will have many, many, many abilities that we previously have not had. And everything will be much like what you would get from GLA, because you would be able to find all of your information in one hub rather than dispersed in several places. So I think probably I should give you some specifics about this. This is, I don't know how much it will appeal to you, but I think we probably should. This will give you much better event management and promotion. It will give us that ability to translate over to you, and you all who are looking for that kind of thing, you know that that's been a great difficulty for us. There's greater communication for payment and billing services, and scheduled billing reminders, job posting module, the ability for us to build better forms for you to get out more informational survey content so that we can keep up communication to build more data sets with you to see where our relevance is succeeding. So these are things that we know that we're going to do, as we start to change as an organization and transition, there are some other things that this association software is capable of taking up that we may get into at a further date. I don't want to commit to it yet. These are ideas that we're taking up as we iterate. Will we be able to create public blogs, publishing content for you? Greater networking community content is what we're trying to get to, and we haven't done all the pieces yet to try to adopt that. That probably is something that will require support from you all to get something like that done. People who want that editorial communication. That's the kind of thing that we want to get into so that we have more enterprising as a community, and people who are who have all of these needs that are not being met by, like we said, these geographical boundaries breed these informational boundaries. So I think I've said enough about this, that we are shifting focus, but I really want to talk to you about our large print program. We're going to continue our large print program, but our large print program is it's not something that we've ever offered as a moneymaker. Just as we don't offer Performer Showcase as a moneymaker, we do this work because it's very important to a lot of people. And we had considered strongly what we were going to do about large print. And we had a group of people who were still very interested in us working out a way to continue with the program. And so they took up what we call our pod leadership. And so they work within a mapped region. And those people will continue to be in charge of the program. Our volunteers, we had 2 volunteers, and that's just not sustainable for us to manage 2,000 materials with 2 volunteers with everything else that we do. So we are trying to get those people to pick up more of our leadership responsibility and get that piece automated for you, so you will have more direct communication with pod leaders. So it's very, I wanted to say that publicly rather than just continue to write about that for you. So, all right, the thing that I wanted to talk to you about is we were talking about this funding issue. And I wanted to transition a little bit here because we've had I've had a lot of people talking to me about the affordability. We even had board members who just could not afford. There's no place in their budget where they had an extra $50 to be able to come here. And that's the reality that we find ourselves in. So I wanted to talk to you about what it is that we're supposed to say when we get the question from our boards, when we get the question from our city managers. How are we going to answer the question, why is plan important? So go ahead. City manager and board want to know why I need plan support. What do I say? All right. Point 1. And I think this is very important because, you know, we don't always want to level the playing field with with the people who manage us. That's not what we want to do. But we do want to manage, we do want to talk to them in relative terms that they actually will understand and can relate to. And what I'm capitalizing on here is not the difference in status. I'm capitalizing on the fact that we need to be able to relate to them in terms they can understand our needs. And this is the way that I think this should be done. And people ask me for language, couching language, and this is what I'm using. With all due respect, I need this in the same way that you need to be able to rely on other expertise and perspective and formal networks for your own insight and your decision-making support. It's so important. Our city managers routinely reach out to help get other people's, to access other people's insight, their networks, experiences they know they had. We need to leverage that ability to speak with them about that. So we need to tell them and make them understand that the demands of modern library management are incredibly formidable, just as their challenges are incredibly formidable. And we need to tell them, sort of like Edward is messaging. We need to tell them we understand the difficulties they must have in assigning budget management, but that we would appreciate them doing this and making them understand the gravity of our own needs as well while they're making those budget decisions. So this is another very important one. And you're not going to get to do this in every situation, but it doesn't hurt to ask. Ask that you can represent your budget priorities with city council. Prepare a program budget to talk priorities in order and talk to them about the value of educated and informed personnel to represent our beliefs, our image, and our authentic value system. All right, as I said, build your priority list. People need to understand that great products, information, and services start with informed personnel to advocate, explain, and support usage. And I think Edward would say he couldn't get any of the things done that he actually gets done if he did not have people who were committed and could advocate and were informed about what the needs are of the day, and were able to marry those needs to services and products. All right, now I'm going to pivot a little bit here and dive a little deeper is what I'm going to say. So I'm afraid that some of us are not really truly seeing how badly we need our own training, because we are challenged by all the atmosphere that we actually have, and it's offsetting our abilities to see how badly we need this accelerated training for the atmospheres that we live in, because we do have we have fiscal pushback, we have sensorial pushback. We're trying to live and adapt in an environment that is artificial to, we're active listeners. We are, we want equity in how that's just part of our Constitution. So what we need to be able to do is pivot to understand and talk to other people more specifically about these accentuated needs and what those accentuated needs are. So I'm going to highlight some things. Can you all agree that we need the ability to anticipate issues that are in our environment coming way down the pipe before they actually get to us? What is it that this person said here that was really, really important, that it may have just been a sentence, but that sentence was very, very important in what they said. And you need to take that down and evaluate, what is that sentence going to look like in a month? What's that sentence going to look like in 6 months once it builds momentum? There was a seed being planted, and we need to be looking at that seed and the implications and get ahead of that seed. Encouraged to speak on difficult topics and lead people to right-headed thoughts that represent all people more equitably. The adaptability and flexibility to manage new circumstances and frequent developments. Sound critical thinking skills related to outcomes and measures of importance. The ability to unlearn and continuously learn. Attracting effective teams and skilled team management. Strong emotional intelligence for yourself and all staff. The ability to manage up, sending the message that what is good for you is also good for your city manager and your team. Sales proficiency. This is a huge one. This is a huge one for us. The ability to know and discuss our products and services and their intended purpose. We have to have foundations. We have to have really, really strong foundations before we can go out there and communicate what we have truly tried to access knowledge of ourselves. It has to be part of our Constitution before we can share it. The ability to maintain trust when human resources, products, services, fiscal, and moral support are being depleted. That's a hard one, particularly in a small environment. Verbal communication and the ability to build authentic relationships with stakeholders. Other power skills, impromptu communication, feedback, active listening, collaboration, and teamwork skills. Without adequate training, we don't have the access to the foundational skills we need to be able to produce effective leaders in this environment. And that is what I would share with my city manager if I were in this situation today. Adequate management includes providing resources to educate and respond to change and growth. And these are our power foundations, people. This is I've screen shared Sarah's trainings that we've put up on our YouTube until we can put them behind a membership wall.
Resend those and probably this week.
We did 32 trainings this year with our grant monies, and we had just under 1,000 people attend those trainings. So we've had excellent usage of those trainings. But I would suggest to you that those trainings need to be commensurate with our membership abilities and how many more people we could actually be educating if we did have stronger fiscal ability. So I guess the final thought that I want to leave you all with today is we're going to be working with every library institute in the coming year, and that is a critical piece for us because we want to be able to teach advocacy skills in the environment we're in. Those advocacy skills will go on. We'll go on with teaching once a month for 12 months. And each of those 12 months, we will also be offering a coaching session. And those coaching sessions will either be with Patrick Sweeney or John Kraska of Every Library Institute. And I would suggest strongly to you that just those trainings this year, if you use no other products and services in support of your plan membership, just those trainings would absolutely be worth the value of your membership this year. That is all I have. Do you all have any other questions for me? I appreciate that very much. Dayna, can you think of any messaging? Yeah. Dayna wants to talk to you because I've given you the reality, and now I want Dayna to show you the strength of what we really do in support of people.
All right, thank you, Louanne. I wanted to talk briefly about programs and events that we've done in 2024. So a lot of the work that I do is involved, I do the consulting, but I'm really involved in a grant that is funded through the IMLS and TSLAC called the Library Rescue Grant. And this is year 3 of it for this grant. And I am the contact, and the purpose of this grant is where we bring in groups of volunteers, librarians, graduate students in library school, community volunteers, and the staffs of the libraries that we're working with to do major projects, mainly in rural libraries. And I'm going to show you some of these libraries that we've worked in 24. And we go in for a day, usually. Sometimes we might do a few things virtually if we need to or through email. We go in for a day and we attack a huge problem. So in fiscal year 24, we've worked with 4 different libraries, and a lot of that had to do with collections, with leading collections that hadn't been touched in years. Moving and organizing libraries that are extremely small, had not kept up with their infrastructure. But we go in and give them that sense of hope that yes, we can get this little piece done, and from there we can build and do something better and better and better for our community. And that gives me a lot of hope. And that's what I truly, truly love about the work that I do, is helping people connect in these outlying regions. Texas is a huge state, and I've gone to some places that I've never gone to. So I really enjoy this work. Next. So December of 2023, I left out of Lubbock, heading west about 45 minutes towards the New Mexico state line on a clear and cold December Saturday to work with 3 other volunteers who are small but mighty to pack up the contents of the library in Sundown, Texas. And that little library was a little brick like pharmacy building. It was a pharmacy for a while and had served other purposes in the community. And we worked all day long on that Saturday, packing up their books, reading their books, and then packing up and getting them ready to move into this beautiful new building. They have rehabbed an old church in Sundown. Their new library is just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Small little community, like 1,500 maybe people that live there. Drove home or drove back to Lubbock that night in a dust storm. So that was very interesting. I loved it. I never driven in a dust storm before, so that was kind of cool. So that was one of our rescues in December. Next, Silsbee. Silsbee is north of Beaumont. It's a railroad town. The library sits like from here to the wall, almost from the railroad tracks. You can watch the trains go by. That's like one of the things is like, oh, here comes another train. Silsbee had a adult nonfiction collection that had not been read in 15 plus years, packed to the gills. Those shelves were filled. And we had our largest group of volunteers that day. It was wonderful the way that community came in and was like, yes, we want this. And we had some graduate students. We were close enough to Houston. I was talking to Edward that one of his staff came over and did an excellent job with some of the weeding of that collection. And you can just see all the materials we weeded out. And then we have a picture of all the people that helped us that day at the very top corner there and all the books that we weeded out. It needed to be done. It was so packed that basically when people went in there, they were like, oh no, this is overwhelming. I don't even know, how to use this. Kathy Johnson, who's the director in Silsbee, has since told me, since this rescue, that their circulation has gone up. People have commented about how much better that library looks. They're excited about it. It's already a cute little building. I do have a picture of it. It was all decorated for Christmas when I went. I went out like in January, but they still had their Christmas decor up. And so just a cute library right there in the center of the old town of Silsbee. So that was a lot of fun and just a lot of good energy there. Next one was in February, went to Grandview near Hillsborough, and it is in the old post office. So another cool building I got to go into. You can see the flagpole there and the red brick. So that's the old post office in Grandview. It's on the main highway that takes you over to Hillsborough. So they've got a great location. I mean, if you're driving, you'll drive right past it. Once again, a library that just the collections were just old and kind of tired. And we went in and we weeded everything in that building that day. There was just about 4 or 5 of us that did that work, but the key thing we had was one of the librarians from Waco Public Library came, brought her teenage son. He was key to helping us get those boxes packed and moved. I mean, so I was just like, yes, he moved so many boxes for us. And so that was a great asset. And you can see all those boxes stacked up there on the top corner. It was really nice to see that children's collection all wow. It looks cool. I want to go over there now and use these children's materials or the large print. It's like, oh, the large print looks so good. You need so much more of the large print because people really in that community use the large print. So it gave her, Judy, the director there, some hope of what she can do. And it also created empty shelves, the bottom corner there. She took those shelves down, added seating and tables, which she did not have enough of. That's why people want to come in. They want to come in and, connect in their community, use their laptops. She doesn't have adequate electricity. So when I heard Gloria talking about these building renovations, I was like, Judy needs to know about this and what's going to happen. Maybe she could, be a part of this because her electrical is just not in good shape. So we were able to really help out Grandview. And then the last one I wanted to talk about was Comanche. And Comanche we did in June. And we had another really good group. We had some people come out of San Angelo and I think it's Eastland, Texas, that Abilene area. And so that day we did a project that I had never done before. I learned a lot. Deborah, who is the director of Comanche, learned a lot. We genreified the children's juvenile collection. So it took a lot of pre-work. We worked a lot back and forth. Deborah and I did via email and just talking on the phone about categories and her thinking about what categories would work in her juvenile collection. Then that Friday when I got there, we started talking about the labels and printing off labels. And then that Saturday we jumped in there and we just went through that collection. Luckily it was smallish. She'd done some weeding and she got it prepped for us. And we labeled that and we got it back on the shelves and organized by categories. And it's just to me, it was this is cool. Now she gets to test it and say, do these categories actually work? Do I need to add more? Do I need to get rid of some of these? So that was a really fun project and different than the weeding projects we've done. So if you're interested in the Library Rescue Grant, take a look at the application on our website, or if you know of a library that could benefit from this, please send them my way. Next thing I just wanted to touch on is 2 weeks ago this Friday, we had our performer showcase in Seguin Public Library. We had 28 performers, 70 attendees. It was a full day from 7 a.m. in the morning until, 5, 6 o'clock at night. It was high energy entertainment. Each one of those performers had 7 minutes to sell themselves, sell their program, and also had time to meet with the attendees and do some bookings, or at least they started planning their programs for the next year or their summer reading events. Both groups said from our survey that we sent out, they really appreciated that. They really appreciated the connections. And that's something that I love to see happen. And so attendees were connecting with their colleagues, performers were connecting with each other, and they were connecting performers and attendees. So really great event. Would love to do more, but it's all a game of like getting the right combination of people who can attend in the different parts of the state. And that is a key hurdle we have to overcome. We really have to look at where is this most effective? Where are performers willing to travel to present this? Where are attendees going to actually attend this event? So that is the work some of the work that I've done. And I am just really pleased to be connecting with your library staff, with you, and working with libraries all across the state of Texas. That's what I enjoy. Contact me if you have any needs or more interest in these events and programs. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to definitely a lot in what she is telling me, because it's impossible to see from pictures, not these pictures, not any pictures, the level of intensity of physical work that goes into this. And there's also the after product. You have to be, there are just a few of us weird people that are actually incredibly motivated by collection management and this idea that the visual changes of a collection will change its performance for you. And it's counterintuitive to the general public. The people who don't know, you have to really get out there and legislate that and make them truly understand this is what the numbers say, this is what the state says, and this is how we perform our improved turnover rate, where we all experience peer comparison. And it's very important that we get that information out there, because it doesn't just support community. There's a pass-on additive here that's incredibly important for you all, that you need to think about in your awareness while we're doing this program. It's limited in its campaign scope. It's not going to have some of the long-term value. It may not be as it may not be as critical in scope in future funding if we don't get people who show us that they understand the value. And I can tell you, this is a true performance program. So what I want to do is I want to bring Ashley up here again. And Stephen, can you come up for us, please? This is our support for what we have had today. They helped us all of yesterday. They helped us into the night yesterday. They have been incredibly supportive of us. And I'm thankful to be that she found the right people for the job, and she knew those people, and she knew that we would work well with those people. And I am incredibly grateful for their help today. This is Stephen Rhaegar. He is the system analyst here, and you've met Ashley. And Ashley's going to come and she's going to talk to you a little bit more about the building and possible touring of premises.
Yes, I have a few notes on this actual building. So let's see. In 1986, the cities of College Station and Bryan entered into an interlocal agreement in ILA, and they decided to open a storefront library here in College Station. And then in 87, that storefront location opened. It wasn't this specific area, but then in 98, with growth of the city, a branch was opened, this branch here. And then in 2004, the name of this library was changed. We at first were known as the College Station Public Library, but then we were changed to the Larry J. Ringer Library, and we were honoring our former mayor of College Station, Larry J. Ringer, who was active in establishing this library branch. And then in 2019, with a lot more growth and an $8 million bond that the citizens of the community voted on, it led to the expansion and renovation, and that is what this building is right now. So we started out, I think we were 12,000 square feet, and then with the renovation, we're now 25,000, so we pretty much doubled in size. And this room before, maybe it was a quarter of what we have now, so it's a really good space now. The Friends of the Library actually granted the funds to furnish this room. And this meeting room is actually dedicated to our former library system director, Larry Kinnegar. After his passing, he was instrumental in this renovation. And so this room is in honor of him. That's kind of like the history. And we, as we walk out, there's a picture of him over there that you'll see on the wall. So but that's what I have for the history. And then whenever y'all are ready, I can take you on a quick tour and get you up and moving. Yeah.
I want to welcome you all I want to thank you for having been here today. We've welcomed your attendance, and I also want to tell you all of our materials will be out on the website. Our meeting that was recorded today, please tell someone our meeting that was recorded will be available on the website. And of course, we'll put it out there on the distribution list and the usual layers as well. But I would like people to know, I'd like them to have access to Edward's speech. And there was a kind of continuing of thought today and some kind of weird natural progression that I wasn't expecting in some kind of a way. And starting with Gloria's speech and speech in terms of insisting on a better state of things, a greater expectation. And we all have a different way of expressing how we're going to do that. But there's a thread that it's necessary, and here's how it's necessary, and these are the ways that we're going to get to it as much as that's possible. And I agree with all of them when they say we don't know just how we're going to do this, but we're going to get it done. So anyway, I'm concluding the day's events virtually. You all are welcome to go with Ashley. It is a beautiful facility, and I enjoyed the day. I enjoyed being with you all. I'm sure that my board enjoyed being with you all. All of the people here are here because their hearts are in this. There's no added value. They're here because their hearts are in working with small rural libraries, particularly, and public libraries. And they understand our needs and our uniqueness and our importance. And so I want to commend my board for helping us and being interested in us, frankly. So are there any other questions that someone might want to hear before I close out?
Hearing none.
Karen, do you have any questions that you want to ask of people to kind of survey the crowd?
So is this something you want to do in person?
I'm so glad to hear that.
I appreciate
Okay. And you know what? I'm going to tell you all something. The only reason that I insisted we do it this weekend was because Edward is so busy and he has so many commitments, and it was so critical to me that this particular year that we get to hear this man. I had to make that. I made that above our our diversity friends and their holidays. I made that the critical point. That's the key point right there. And I really hope that that paid off because I believe that it did. I was very motivated by that speech spiritually, and that will feed me for a year.
There is nothing else. Go forth in the library.